This is Q aggression. I just wanna squeeze you. Q aggression. I just wanna bite you. Q aggression. I don't wanna cause any harm. It's just these positive feelings are too intense. I love my cat, I love to squish her face, I love to pull her ears back and look at her face. It's so cute. Does she know that she's a cat? I tell her every day that she is. This is cute aggression. I just wanna squeeze you. Cute aggression. I just wanna eat you for lunch. Cute aggression. I don't wanna cause any harm. It's just these positive feelings are too intense. I kiss my furry little baby 500 times a day. I even take a little bite, put it on my face. I hug her, I squeeze her, I poop a little nose. I tell her that I love her. I wonder if she knows this is cute aggression. I just wanna squeeze you. Cute aggression. I wanna eat your little toes on my run. Aggression. I don't wanna cause any harm. It's just these positive feelings are too intense. Yes, so. Yes, so. Yes, so. Yes, so. You're so cute. Whoa, 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 whoa. You're so cute. You are. You're so cute. Yes, you are. You're so cute. You are. You're so cute. Aggression. I just wanna squeeze you. Aggression. I just wanna squish your tiny face. Aggression. I don't wanna cause any harm. It's just these positive feelings are too intense. Positive feelings are too intense. Positive feelings are too intense.
Watching, I hope that you enjoyed the full version of Cute Aggression featuring Pyretta and all of your pets too. People from all over the internet. Thank you so much. And I just want to say, if you are interested, there's Cute Aggression merch. You can check.
Get your merch. Get your merch. Oh my God, that was funny. I have more. So yes, there is a cat thing happening. And I hope you enjoy my little cat songs that I have picked to share. Next. Really helps if you unmute.
There's nothing more that I wish to do. You make me purr when I'm feeling blue. Be it rain or a sunny day, your laugh is my favorite place to stay. You know what I need. I need you. I need you. And I know that you can't hear me say the words that tell you I'm here to stay. But I hope that you see that I need you.
bag of bones, been out all night. Kenny O, scratching at the screen door. Kenny O, scratching at the screen door. Little bag of bones, been out all night. He needs some petting and loving on his head. He needs some petting and loving on his rain-soaked hide. He's circling around my ankle. He's circling around my ankle. He needs some petting and loving on his hide. Hey, kitty, won't you come inside? Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty, I'm a foot and I want to touch it. Meow, 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 meow. A pussy purring and looking so satisfied. A pussy purring and looking so satisfied. I'm lost in his little yellow round eye. Lost in his little yellow round eye. Pussy purring and looking so satisfied. Kitty rap and scratch me through my jeans. Kitty rap and scratch me through my jeans. You kitty, yo, gonna spend the night. You kitty, yo, gonna spend the night. You kitty, yo, gonna spend the night
outside.
Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty, I'm a foot and I wanna touch it.
Kitty at my foot and I want to touch it.
Kitty at my foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty at my foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty at my foot and I wanna touch it. Kitty at my foot and I want to touch it. Touch it. I wanna touch it. I wanna touch it. I wanna touch it. Wanna touch it. Wanna touch it. I wanna touch it.
Kitty, 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 touch it. Kitty at my foot and I want to touch it. Meow, 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 meow. I gotta get through the commercial. Bloop. Another one. This one does make me giggle.
I got this little kitty about 2 months back. He was the nicest little kitty, now a pain in my crack. This little kitty is a ninja, always stalking my feet. This little kitty is a warrior, you know what I mean. He's an evil little kitty, look what he did to my hand.
tries to get in trouble in any way that he can. I could give this cat a toy, but he'd rather have the wrapper, and I always give him water, but he still drinks from the crapper. You could lock him in a closet and he just won't care. Kitty chews on my shoes and he licks on my hair, always scratching on my favorite chair and jumping on the couch, playing in the windowsills and tearing through the house. He is so full of energy and easily amused. Kitty will attack anything that moves, causing trouble, starting battles just so he can be a part of. He's the meanest little kitty, so we named him Sparta. Hey, little Sparta, what is worth all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight, fight, fight. Hey, little Sparta, what is worth all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight, fight, fight. Hey, little Sparta, what is worth all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight, fight, fight. Hey, little Sparta, what is worth all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight. Where'd you go? Are you stalking me? Are you under the couch? Quite possibly, ears laid back so you don't get caught. Ready to punch my leg with everything that you got. I know you're probably watching me from across the room, concentrating, contemplating on attacking me soon. You're not invisible, kitty. I'm gonna find you first. Come out before I make things worse. I've seen where you hide and I know where you've been. Hey kitty, why don't you give in? Even if you try to sneak up on me, I'm prepared, cause I got my safety gear on and I'm not scared. I think I hear a little kitty under the bed. I know you're making noises just to mess with my head. You can stop me all you want, but I'm not your prey. You always seem to find me first, but not today. Hey little Sparta, what is worth all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight, fight, fight. Hey little Sparta, what is worth all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight, fight, fight. Hey little Sparta, what is worth all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight, fight, fight. Hey little Sparta, what is worth all the fight? Come on now, I'm gonna get you now. I've got him cornered, and now he's mine. He's not gonna get away this time. I'll snatch him up fast before he can blink, and then, oh man, he's asleep in the sink. What is with this cat? I'm confused. He's got a bed, but it's never been used. In every waking moment, Kitty's out for the fight. Then, next minute, Kitty's out like a light. How could I let this little creature inside my home? I gotta keep an eye on him when I'm on the phone. I'm a little afraid to leave this cat all alone. This kitty may destroy everything that I own. Look at him now. I kind of feel bad. He's the best little cat that I've had. And the one big thing I forgot to mention was that he wasn't fighting, he just wanted attention. Hey, little Sparta, what is with all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight, fight, fight. Hey, little Sparta, what is with all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight, fight, fight. Hey, little Sparta, what is with all the fight? Little bitty kitty wanna fight, fight, fight. Hey, little Sparta, what is with all the fight? Showing love, that's all this kitty does. Get it, little kit, 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 get it.
And that's my last cat song I found. So that killed a little bit of time, 15 minutes. Yeah, if you could share out. I'm over here on Ulix because I'm grounded again. And I do actually have some pretty interesting information relating to COVID even, and, New World takeover type stuff, and kitty cats. I'm going to pull it all together. Is this not my magic superpower? Do I not have some, I think I do. So I'm going to give it to myself of putting so many random things together. And suddenly you're like, what the fuck did I just learn about? That's how it is for me. So let me change my screen share now. Yeah, I couldn't tag Jason. And yes, Jabby News, fake Jabby News. And so I can't tag or share anything. So I'm kind of relying on everybody to help me out there. And I know that he might not be available. I just happen to be able to do it right now. But I know that he was somewhat interested or not interested. He was trying to avoid it because I was going to do it the other day. And then I said, but I've got this other stuff. And he was the first one to say, forget the cats, do this. So come on, Jason, you're missing the Pussycats. And December, in case you don't know, December is National Love Your Cat Month. So that's happening. So a lot of really fun things going on. Suzanne, My understanding, how I've done it, is when you go to share it, so when you do it on like your community to share the stream out, you have to do an @ sign and start to type. So when I share your stuff, if I tag you in it, I have to put lady of, and it'll pop up, it'll start showing the channels that have those letters in it. And Jerry's here. Yay, Jerry. How are you? And yes. Okay. So let's get to the meat of the discussion. I'm just going to do a window screen here, or share here. We're going to go off the. I did actually like that Mean Kitty song, the last one I played. I don't know if that's what that guy does, but he was kind of cute. So I'm going to have to, subscribe or something. Okay. A little eye candy. All right. So I'm going to start here. So I've got several tabs. We're going to just kind of go across them and talk as we go, like we do. This was from Straight Dope. It's, all about things. You got animals, drugs, food, origins, politics, religion. So this isn't an origin story, but it's from 1990. And this is what I want us to pay attention to some of these dates. Because again, I am saying that, there we go. I am saying that they've known for so fucking long. And when I find this kind of information, and then I go back 30 years later and they act as if it's the first time they've ever fucking heard of this, I'm blown away. So we're going to look at some of that with the science community and exactly what are they doing. So this is the origins of, so I kind of did a little brainstorm session, and this is what I came up with. So this is what's the origins of the myth that cats can suck the breath out of a baby? Okay, so some of you may have heard this. You've seen it probably in some horror movies as well. And where the cat sits on the person's chest and then they show like the spirit or the breath being drawn out by the cat. So here is the question. Dear Cecil, can everybody hear me okay? Am I good? I forgot about the Smelly Cat song. Smelly cat, smelly cat. What are they feeding you? And that's a Friends song. And who just died recently? One of our friends in some water, of all places. As you may or may not know, seems to be a common place for them to die in water for some odd reason. Anyway, so he asks, how did this myth that cats sometimes steal people's breath when they sleep get started? By, Rick Weaver wants to know from North Bay, California. Do you remember? I missed this. I fucking loved reading the newspaper as a kid. And these were the parts of the newspaper that interested me. The Dear Abby sections and these types of things. I always found... I loved Reader's Digest. If I could ever come across some kind of Reader's Digest, yard sale where they're like giving away a box for $1, I would so buy them, because when I was a kid, I would read. This is going to sound so fucking stupid, but look, we all have one. I used to dream or daydream about writing for the Reader's Digest. You could send in your story, and if they published it, they'd give you like $35 or something. That was a lot of money, in the 70s and 80s and 90s even. So but I mostly in the 80s. That's my decade of my elementary school years. I started in the beginning and I pretty much left at the end. And so that was kind of, I remember sitting in the doctor's offices reading them, but they would have these kind of things in them. You know, people ask, Rick Weaver, North Bay, California. And so Cecil replies, I've gone off the rails. Cats on the babies for warmth. Yes. Very good, Okie Grower. And you guys are talking about things that are local. Okay, keep going. Keep talking about those things. Actually, you know what though? Even if they're not, I usually put them up anyway, because when people are watching the playback, I just like everybody to be able to say what they want to say and share what they want to share. Okay. So it says, well, Cecil replies, well, not to be Mr. Paranoid or anything, but I'm not totally sure this is a myth. And neither are some cat writers, and as we shall see. No question, people have been getting freaked out about cats for a long time. And one cat book notes that to many people, quote, cats may still presage evil. I'm going to say give off. What does that word mean? Let's see. Let's guess. This is an intelligence question on your IQ tests. If you don't know the word, can you figure out what it means by text reference in the sentence? Give off evil, or exhume evil, right? Or what would that word be? I can't even think of that. Geez, Elmer Fudd much? Oh, it says a sign or a warning that typically means bad. Yes. A presage. A presage. Yeah, an omen of evil. Particularly if they are black. I saw a black cat. Was that the same black cat? They may still, as has been widely held throughout the world, cause the death of a child by creeping upon it and sucking its breath. Furthermore, we read that Lilith, the dark goddess of Hebrew mythology, changed herself into a, what does that say, vampire bat. I've never heard that one with Lilith, but you're going to learn it now. If you didn't know that, you're about to, because I didn't. I'd never heard that she could turn herself into a vampire cat. So I was like, what the fuck? I got to go look that up. So turns out there's actually some stuff there. So we've all heard of Lilith, Adam's first wife, supposedly, but not in these ways, maybe. So I thought that's fun. Elbrusha and its form sucked the blood from her favorite prey, the newborn infant. So she turned herself into a vampire cat named Elbrusha. And then in that form, she sucked the blood from her favorite prey, the newborn infant. She took infants. The authors describe such belief as, quote, without factual substantiation. Well, duh. Maybe or maybe not. Some cat care experts, folks who presumably would laugh off unfounded legends about cats, warn, though, against allowing a cat into a room with a newborn baby. Cats like warm spots to sleep. Look at that, one writer says. I know who that writer was. Where is it? It was Okie Grower. He's the writer. Was it? Could be. It very well could be. What if the babies are addicted to gambling or possibly crack? And maybe they owed the cats money. Very good. Dang, nailed it. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay. So it says that they're attracted by body heat and they may curl up alongside a baby, but this habit must be discouraged as there is a danger that the cat might unwittingly suffocate the child. Cecil is willing to concede this fear may be exaggerated. It may be that cats over the years have been unjustly blamed for cases of crib death whose cause is not well understood. Still, if you've got a little one on the premises, no sense taking chances. And I can see why, if a baby does die of SIDS and the owners have a cat, it's very possible that the cat could be lying next to the baby, either just sleeping there and completely oblivious, or let's assume that cats have some kind of ether radar and they recognize something's wrong with the baby and they go lay down to possibly keep the baby warm. I don't know, right? Who knows about animals? But I found that to be interesting, and I do have more tabs, but I do want to read through these couple facts that Cecil shares. So, facts about cats, part 1. Dear Cecil, it's hard to believe a person in the 1990s could still believe that cats could, quote, suck the breath out of a baby. No reputable cat care book has ever suggested that a cat would suffocate a baby. I have over 50 cat books in my possession and have lived with cats for 34 of my 39 years. My cats sleep next to me at night, and the only thing that concerns me is that I might roll over and crush them. You are an irresponsible reporter, and if you had half the brains and personality of a cat, you could accomplish much more than writing for cheap throwaway paper. Donna Kentnor from West Covina, California. And Cecil replies, listen, honey, at least I've got something to sleep with besides a cat. One book has warned about the danger of suffocating a baby was You and Your Cat by David Taylor, 1986. It seems plenty reputable to me. Is the danger exaggerated? Maybe, but read on. Facts about cats, part 2. Dear Cecil, as a passed out drunk freshman at Michigan State dorm room about 32 years ago, I can attest to cat breath thievery, or at least to cat assisted attempted suffocation. Unconscious in my bunk bed, I was unaware that one of my academic neighbors had let a small stray cat into my room during the night. The next morning, I awoke with really fuzzy vision and undeniably hairy tongue. Naturally, I thought I had achieved a truly remarkable hangover. I raised my hands to give my eyes a serious rubbing. I was laying flat on my back, when, much to my surprise, I discovered a large furry growth protruding at least 3 inches above my face. Disorientation is not the appropriate word, but it'll have to do. I pulled my arms back to my sides and froze while I tried to make sense of the situation. About that time, the furry growth began to purr, as kittens will do when touched. Eureka! I had a cat on my face. Totally disregarding the cat's ability to extend its claws, I grabbed it and flung it across the room. I developed a cat fur allergy that stuck with me for 25 years, but at least it didn't steal my breath. Cats like to cuddle up to things, and with things warm and rhythmic. I've seen them asleep atop operating electric motors, so it's probably best to keep them out of your nurseries. Baby's face would be too much to resist, says Kirby Metcalf from Dallas. And Cecil says, send your questions too. So I thought that was kind of funny anyway. So let's go back. Let's go on and look here a little bit more into cat folklore. Y'all should see me dance. I am so, you got it right. Warm breath, cold cat. Is Shaggy Randy wants to know if SIDS is caused by the vaccines. I don't know, Shaggy, but that is, you ask an interesting question. You know what I will do? Just because just this is what I'm doing lately. All right. So I'm not saying this is going to be a connection. You just, here's what I'm going to put. Epstein Barr virus linked to SIDS. Let's see. See, this one says SIDS prone sleep position and infection and overlooked. Indeed, most have shown a link between viruses and SIDS. Well, I think we have the answer. Here we go. Virus infections and SIDS. Detections of the herpes virus and Epstein-Barr in SIDS. Well, looky there. Holy shit balls. Thanks, Shaggy, for the question. I think we have our answer. I'm curious if jabs don't change DNA in babies. How long have they been changing, folks? Interesting questions. Oops. Okay. Sorry. Hey, Ulick, I see you in. Yes. Oh, I forgot. Jackie Fox has come in with some love. 333 unhidden. Thank you, Lan. Sorry, our mistake there. Shaggy Randy, that was an excellent question you asked there. We got some trigger fingers, fat fingers. We call them old people fingers, reading glasses fingers. Folks freak out when the Epstein client list comes out, right? Will it? Okay. It's good to see you guys. Okay, so I'm going back over here. I'm caught up now. All right. So this is The Great Cat. I hope you're finding this as interesting as I am. This came to us from 2012, A History of the Cat in the Dark Ages. So part 5. So let's read this because remember, Joni doesn't just stay in the realm of the loosey juicy. I play in all playgrounds. For this pun, I play in all the litter boxes. Yeah, that's it. I knew it. Hey, Mystical Banana Fingers, Mystical says. Excellent. Okay. So that includes the Rapture Watch 2023 Shemitah Donut. I'm watching and I'm bringing it to the people. So Joni does the work, so you don't have to. That's the kind of reporter I am. So this goes along with, and I'm going to get to the virus and the cats. Trust me, it's an interesting dot of lines. Okay, so we're talking about this idea, the original idea of cats, and it's talking about, now I'm going into the folklore and the myths being mythology, religion, belief systems, all of that. So Rapture Watch, so end of the world, apocalyptic 666. So here's what it says: a history of the cat in Christianity and Judaism. No doubt due to the cat's association with the devil, evil, and paganism, only one obscure reference to the cat appears in the Bible. The letter from Jeremiah contains one mention of the cat when referring to pagans in the book of Baruch. I'm not exactly sure how to say that, but it's here. There are yet, can you see it there? I'm trying to highlight it, but it's not letting me. There are yet other references to cats in the Gospel of the Holy 12, published in 1924 by Reverend G.J. Ousley. Even though condemned by the church, this gospel, which Ousley, he was ousted. He's Ousleyed. Claimed came to him in dreams, closely coincides with the Essene Gospel of Peace, only released from the Vatican in 1940. Well, isn't that interesting? So he came up with this idea in 1924, but it wasn't released from the Vatican until 1940. And at the time, they told him to go fuck off. So both depict a more compassionate, vegetarian Christ. The Holy of the Gospel of the Holy 12 includes an account of the birth of Jesus, somewhat different from the one recorded in the Bible. In addition to the other animals in the stable, the Gospel adds that a cat with her kittens lay beneath the manger. And this is from Ousley in Undi 1924 on page 7. The mention of the cat and her kittens were perhaps deleted because of the cat's association with paganism, but makes perfect sense to be included in the scene since the cat has always been a symbol of fertility and motherhood. And it is interesting that even as a little girl, I have seen pictures of the manger and that with a cat in it. So I can have some type of reference with that idea and, animals and things like that. Another section of the gospel proves Christ's compassion for the cat. While he was walking through a village, he noticed a group of boys tormenting a cat. Jesus asks them to stop, but they did not listen. After unsuccessfully trying to persuade them to stop, he drove them away with a whip, saying, "This earth which my mother made for joy and gladness, ye have made into the lowest hell with your deeds of violence and cruelty." This also comes from the Ousley and the Unduli. Udny. Yet another incidence of Jesus's kindness to cats is recorded. As Jesus entered a certain village, he saw a young cat which had none to care for her, and she was hungry, and cried unto him. And he took her up and put her inside his garment, and she lay in his bosom. And when he came into a village, he set food and drink before the cat, and she ate and drank and showed him thanks. And I love these stories because these, for one thing, we have reference today, especially in this one right here, because in video games, when I've seen it repeatedly, when you go into a place that you are welcome, there's often a dog or a cat designed into the program that meets you when you get off the boat, or meets you when you walk into the road or the town, and you can pet it and earn, points, or you can. And so this idea that Jesus, a human being, would find a little kitten and pick it up and toss it in its, in his top there where you would have it belted and it could just hang out as he was traveling, absolutely makes 1000% human thinking behavior to be accurate. So I believe these things. This would be normal. If not Jesus, someone else, right? The Talmud, or the Jewish Book of Laws, refers to the cat as having magical powers because it's able to, quote, see demons. And the Talmud goes on to detail how this ability is gotten from the cat by taking the placenta of the firstborn black female cat and roasting it at the fire and grinding it to a powder. And once a tiny bit of powder is put into the eye, it causes demons to be visible. Hebrew legends also mention the cat. Now, why is that fucking interesting? It goes on to detail. It says that you can take the placenta of a firstborn black cat, right? Dry it out, grind it into a powder, stick it in your eye, and you'll be able to see demons. You're going to see crap in your eye. That's what you're going to see. Black ash in your eye. And they're going to look like spirits or, tall, slender mans. Do you see what I mean? This is where we get these ridiculous ideas we have today. Why are you putting ash in your eye? I could see demons. You see something, all right. I don't know. You can see ash in your eyes, what you're seeing. Anyway. So then it goes on. A Hebrew legend also mentions the cat. When God was deciding how each animal would make its living, he asked the cat, "From where do you wish to receive your daily bread? The shopkeeper, the peasant, or the peddler?" And the cat replied, "Give me my daily bread from an absent-minded woman who leaves her kitchen door open." In another reference to a cat, that's funny. In Hebrew folklore, Lilith, Adam's first wife, was unruly and refused to obey him. After being expelled from Eden as a punishment, Lilith haunted the night. In Spain, Jews believed that she became a vampire cat called La Bruja, who victimized babies by sucking their blood. According to custom, for a period of 9 days after birth, a mother and her newborn child should never be left alone. In one story, a nurse unwittingly leaves the baby and mother alone, and when the nurse returns, the mother tells her she had a dream of a huge black cat that had come into the room and changed into a jar. And just then, the mother heard a meowing from the street, and the cat who had become a jar returned to being a cat again. And at this point, it went to bed and took the baby and threw it out the window to another cat. Horrified, the nurse realized that it had not been a dream because she could see from the window the cat carrying the baby in its mouth as it crossed a nearby field. Now, the thing that I want to point out is these are Hebrew folk tales. These are Jewish folklores, and they still believe these things is true. You've gotten over Zeus. They have not gotten over Lilith, okay? The story of Noah and the creation of the cat comes to us from an Egyptian naturalist and scholar named Ad-Damiri, who began something I can't say, the life of animals, in the 19th century AD. When Noah made a couple of kind of animals, each kind of animal enter the ark, his companions, as well as members of his family, said to him, "What security can there be for us and for the animals so long as the lion shall dwell with us in the same vessel?" The patriarch betook himself a prayer and entreated the Lord God. Immediately, fever came down from the heavens and seized up upon the king of the beasts, so that tranquility of mind was restored to the inhabitants of the ark. But there was in the vessel an enemy no less harmful. This was the mouse. The companions of Noah called his attentions to the fact that it would be impossible for them to preserve their provisions and their clothes intact. After the patriarch had addressed renewed supplications to the Most High, the lion sneezed and a cat ran out of his nostrils. From this time forth, the mouse became timid so that it contracted the habit of hiding itself in holes. Okay. Now, this is one of my favorites here because we're going into Epstein-Barr virus. And we're going into another virus that's in the same, they're friends. They're in the same family. They're in the same neighborhood, called T. Gandhi virus, that causes mice and its prey to be attracted to it. So this story sounds really interesting. I really like this story, fairy tale that is giving me a story of the creation of domesticated cats and mice. And that's all that is. There's no real lion did not sneeze out a cat. However, I do believe, I'm sure they could have catnipped the lion. I'm sure there was something they could have done, and very well could explain why Daniel managed to hang out in the lion's den. Was he cavity searched? I don't know what was in his pockets. We think that these are miracles, but a miracle is a magic trick that you can't explain. That's all. So it's really interesting. Nobody thinks of these things except, people like us. But this is very interesting as well, because it says here, from that time forth, the mouse became as timid so as to contracting the habit of hiding itself in holes. And the Epstein-Barr virus and the T. Gandhi virus and these herpes types virus, so the viruses that are in these families, what they happen to do is that when they're being attacked, they don't die off. They retreat and hide in your white blood cells. and wait for another trigger to activate them. What? And now I like that story even more. Let me see what everyone is saying before I go on to the next. Yes. Cats are dangerous, Barney Rumble says. That's a great name. They hunt mice and pick up ticks that carry that great Lyme disease. Lyme disease. Look at that. And the dots and connections just keep getting greater by the second. We have some weird cat stuff going on at the Fox Den. Listening closely. Interesting. Cataholics. Anonymous. King Dale Clark. What do you think of people with weird fetishes? Let's say it starts with men viewing videos of women's backsides and then evolves into farts and scats. Well, I actually have looked into the mind of weirdos, although all of that information is gone now. But that is definitely a topic that we can dive into at another time. There's always a reason for the fetishes. And a lot of them can be traced back even to, well, something so small as childhood trauma. There's a connection with cats and Freemasons where you can't return. Oh. The scat man. I should have found a scat song. What was I thinking? What does Helix say now? Behave, or you'll stop Joni chatting about pussy. Oh my goodness. Yes, go. I'll even pause and wait. Please go and save that, click that, link that, share that link that Paul has thrown out there. A Labushka. Is that Kate Bush? It played a big part in Egypt. Yes, mummifying cats and selling cats. That was one of the problems that Jesus had, Jerry, when he walked into the temples, was the tables that were selling things for worship. And one of them was mummified cats. And that means that they were raising cats to mummify them. They were actually, these were not, people's cats or something. This was an industry. And to think if that story would be true, that, maybe Jesus did have some of course he loved animals. Of course he loved animals. He's fucking Jesus, for crying out loud. He's sitting down next to sheep and birds are landing on him. Fish just jump out of boats just to get near him. Why do birds sing? To get close to you. And why do fish fly? To get close to you. And notice in the I Pet Goat, when all the fish fly out of the water into the boat, they're wearing black and white checkerboard Freemason. No, they're not. They're wearing prison stripes, you idiot. Those are prison uniform stripes come popping out. The tiger fish with the prison stripes right in the boat of Jesus. They've been captured in a prison of Christianity. It's about to sail you out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Bosco. Yes, okay. Catnip will bring down a fever. I've heard especially for kids. That's interesting, Jerry, because catnip, we should get some to put in the yard, Ulick. We should get some wild catnip to keep in the yard. That's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that before? That's just an herb that grows. My cat used to roll my joints for catnip. 50 Shades of Scat. What's that? Okay, back to the articles. All right, you guys are fun. All right, so this is the dog people. Now, again, follow me through the dots. So every one of these articles is leading you to another destination. So just keep following me. If you think this is stupid, just wait. I'm going to get there. And then if you think it's stupid, then you can come up and tell me like Eulig does. Well, I didn't like that. Okay, this one's called The Year of the Pandemic Pet. Now, we had a pandemic, and during the pandemic, adoption sales boomed for pets. Well, what did we learn 1 year later? Getting to the Epstein-Barr and COVID-19 and its relative neighbor. 1 year later, so last year, will no doubt go down in the books as one of the most challenging years in recent history. But one of its biggest and most delightful surprises was the wave of pet adoptions that resulted because of the pandemic. Quarantined under stay-at-home orders, people were isolated, looking for companionship, and pet adoption soared. Rover reported on the trend, pets now ambiguously known as pandemic puppies. They named them pandemic puppies several times in the last year. In October of 2020, we found that 1/3 of people in the U.S. had welcomed a cat or a dog into their life since March. In a January 2021 report, we found that the figure was higher when looking at dogs. Nearly half, 49% of Americans said they got a new dog during COVID pandemic. In our most recent survey, we asked new cat and dog owners about what motivated them to adopt and what kinds of pets they adopted and how things are going now that life is resuming its old pace and they're spending less time at home. Read on for the highlights. It's raining cats and dogs, but mostly dogs. Pandemic puppies is something of a misnomer. While we did find the pet adoption boom was a boom for dogs, it included cats too. Of the people who adopted in the last year, 53% brought home a dog, 32% brought home a cat, and 14% brought home both. 64% of pet parents adopted, 40% from a rescue or nonprofit organization, and 24% from another family member. And 26% of pet parents purchased, pet parent purchased their cat or dog from a breeder. Young adopters lead the way. And here's where we get into some generational science, and I'm going to go to my business statistical book, and I'm going to look up about millennials and why they might be susceptible to cat ownership or dog ownership, pet ownership. This goes all the way back to their childhood and what was given to them. The majority of recent pet owners are millennials, with more working from home than out of the home, but groups from retired boomers to essential workers have adopted in the last year, and a wide breadth of experience is represented when it comes to caring for cats and dogs. Only 13% of those who adopted were first-time pet owners. And this I want to focus on. Out of all the people that was in this study or whatever, they got these research numbers from adoption agencies and breeders. That's in asking people, right? So let's note that they literally want to know every fucking thing about you, including your how many pets and when and why and what breed and what sex and what kind of pets. I mean, for what purpose? So that I can read it off and we all have a, ooh, look at that. I could have probably told you most of these statistics. But no, it's to sell you things. And now I'm seeing commercials post-pandemic for pet food that is better than non-processed. You wouldn't feed this to your kids. Most of the planet does feed that shit to their kids. But let's have real or nice, wonderful food for animals, you know, these kinds of ideas. And we have pet boxing and pet of the month and, you know, how about gourmet food that, you know, it's not a can anymore. It looks like you could eat it. It looks like something you'd eat, not where you would look at something and go, oh, like cat food. Now the cat food looks like your entree at a 5-star restaurant. Do you see what I'm saying? So the food industry is really, I mean, well, that is the food industry. Pet industry is poised and ready to strike. And they're getting everybody toys and all that kind of stuff. And so the majority of these were millennials. Only 13%, though, were first-time owners. That's a very small amount of people who just said, I think I'll get a cat. So I can see that. 13, that sounds like a normal amount of people. So 13% of people, ended up being home a lot and recognized that having a pet around might make it more, more enjoyable, something that I could pet or would, something to take care of. I totally agree with that statistic. Here, that's a low number. 20% didn't have another pet when they adopted, but they had one before. So 20%, again, that seems about right. I'm lonely. I remember having a cat. I remember having a dog. I'll get a cat and a dog. 66 fucking percent already had a cat or dog. 66% already had them. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. So why this huge amount of people wanting more and more cats? Crazy cat lady syndrome. So let's look here. Are you still with me? No, I lost a lot of people. That's okay. I still think that's funny. Yes, they did. They were after your pets. Interesting. Remember the videos coming out of China where people were throwing their dogs out? A video came out of China where somebody threw their little Chihuahua yapping dog out the window and down, and they had a headline that says people are so afraid of COVID, they're throwing their animals out windows. Does anybody remember that? Please say you remember that. And so there was like maybe 1 or 2 videos of dogs. Do you think possibly, here's another idea, those yappy little things, maybe I'm your neighbor and I'm so sick of your fucking dog. I get you to invite, let me in, said the big bad wolf. And you did. And I picked up your fucking dog and I threw it out the goddamn window because it yaps all fucking day and I can't stand it anymore. That could be an idea. That could be one of the ideas. People do crazier things when they only have 1 or 2 videos of cats and dogs flying out of windows. I'm going to say these people have snapped, probably because they're infected with a virus that caused them to have psychotic moments called Epstein-Barr virus. All right, going to. Yes, this is also very interesting that you note this, James. And hello, because there is that connection. And the gay community is a hotbed for virus experiments such as herpes and AIDS and all of these kinds of things. And once it becomes a thing, it becomes a thing. And so in the beginning, you might be driven by something different down the line. Because remember, we were learning that if I tell you something long enough or you see it long enough, you repeat the behavior. It now becomes a ritual or what is that called? The holidays, where you have, fudge. What is it? Not a ritual. That's the wrong word. A tradition. It becomes a tradition. So it ends up part of the stereotype and it hangs out there. Do you see what I am saying? So definitely right on it. We're right on it. We're right in the EBV. All right. So what is Toxoplasma gondii and its psychological effects on humans? You can see that's what I asked the Google. And you right out the gate, I get scholarly articles about the effects. So let's just read the first one that comes from Stanley Medical Research Industry. Infected men were shown to be more expedient, suspicious, jealous, and dogmatic, where infected women had more warmth and superego strength. Thus, sex differences of the effect of T. gondii in humans have been shown just as they have been in rodents, and they have summarized these findings. But there's actually a lot more to this. This is 2019. I don't know what that one was off of. But 2017, humans with latent, like they're just hanging out, toxoplasmosis displayed alter reward changes, increased exploratory behavior, decreased neophobia, and the loss of a fear of cats. That's from 2017. Here's some symptomatic changes in human personality. They range from risk-taking to entrepreneurship. This is going to be so interesting when we start reading some of these symptoms. What do you think of this so far? Interesting, isn't it? Hey. It's nice to see you, 986 Steve. It affects dopamine. Boy, you guys you've been researching like me, haven't you? Okay, let's see. What did you, James, say? Okay, you responded to James' comment. Is that a factual statistic, James, or an observation? I think we answered that, Jerry. We're going to answer that question, Jerry. This is so interesting. So it says it may adversely affect their cognitive function. It has a higher concentration. Infected men have a higher concentration of testosterone. This is going to go into serial killers. Tumors are caused by what? Did you know? I just learned this myself. Did you know that a brain tumor can cause pedophilia? And that goes back to the 2000, the earliest I could find was 2002 or 2003, first decade of the 2000s. Now, why is that interesting to me? Because, well, we started to have an uptick. Now, I'm not saying all these people have tumors, but what causes these tumors is toxoplasma infection. I'm wondering these connections, okay? Tumors being caused by these viruses in the brain, viruses in the body, and they do weird things. And when we're seeing all of a sudden, it seems like it's everywhere. I have two options. I can either think, well, I have three. I can think, one, it's the devil and he's come down. That I'm not sure of. No, that would be a last. Or it's some type of evolutionary stage. Possibly. Or another thing is it's a manipulatable evolutionary stage. Something that I could toss out to the wind and see what sticks. You know, like when the shit hit the fan and then they just look at the wall to see what sticks. And this is called epigenetics and loosey-goosey and illnesses like Tigandi, toxoplasma. Reality check. Can cat poop cause mental illness? It can ramp up inflammation, and inflammation has been linked to mental disorders such as schizophrenia, autism, and Alzheimer's. Go fuck off. It's a mind-altering parasite. What is its effects on rodents and humans? Look at the dates. Look at the dates. I just want you to know these are new. These are all coming out since Lucy Juicy, since the COVID. So let's read some of them. Do you find this stuff interesting so far? Yes. You could have a flare up and see a demon on a plane. You could be having a flare up due to a stressful situation and having a hallucination on a plane. And all the bad guys, all our controllers or business has to do is say, don't report on that story. We don't want to hear it. And now they've created a paranoia in your own mind. That's how the magic trick is performed. That's how the hypnotist gets you to believe these things. The trigger word is, shh, don't talk about it and let them assume the rest. And instead of assuming that it could be that they're ill or they've got a cold or they're having a flare up from their Epstein or long COVID that they're now experiencing. And that's what's causing the Karen moment. We all go to sci-fi. We all go way out there. Could be just that. Fairy dust. They like to use pixies and fairies and glitter right now. And wings and fairy wings and fairy tales and the whole 9 yards. Well, if I just took glitter and blew it, what would it stick to? Each of those different bodies is going to be it's going to react different. And so now I'm just waiting to gather the information. And you'll come bring it to me because you don't feel well. And you'll go to the doctor and there it is. They've got the whole system. They just got the system up in the last 20 years. They've gone from this doctor not knowing what another doctor's doing to you go in with your driver's license. And it doesn't matter if I'm in this country or in your country or in this state or in that state. They just type your name in a little computer or scan your driver's license and it tells you every medication you're on, your blood pressure from the past. Do you know what I mean? And they got the alpha generation. That came into effect for millennial parents with alpha babies. That's when you'll start seeing that. Alpha babies are being born and they came in through the pediatrics. They used pediatrics first. And then it went into the rest of the healthcare center system. So I don't know how it was there, but my experience with it, somebody could say, well, mine was different. That's fair. But I was a mother. And the first place I saw it outside my general practitioner and the hospital was in fact through pediatrics. So the pediatricians were really pushing to have shared knowledge and everyone went on board and pretty soon, and it was everywhere you went. Right. And it wasn't calling the doctor or faxing over. It was now a plug into a number. You are a numbering machine that gives that doctor your your pharmacy, the kind of prescriptions you buy, the kind of over-the-counter drugs you buy, everything, whole 9 yards, right? Isn't that interesting? Okay. Who are you? Yes. Interesting. In babies caught. Gross. And she didn't want to listen. Have I? What's that? Okay, let's see. It says, was shown in an observation that a large number of motorcyclist deaths that had, I think I probably would have come across that. That somewhat seems familiar to me, but it could just be that I'm not surprised by the amount of, you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute, Jerry, if that's one that I came across or not, because there were a lot of them. Very strange. It had worms. Yeah, cats are gross. I'm not a cat person. That just gave me the willies just thinking about it. My aunt and uncle had a barn cat and it puked up some of the weirdest shit and it had worms in the puke. Oh, puke was wiggling. Grossed me out anyway. And what really grossed me out wasn't just that. It was that the cat licked it back up and ate it again. So that ew. Okay, I'm back. Okay, don't talk about worms and cats. Okay, the opposite. Okay, so here's this article that I found. Right. Let me just mark this one section here because I want to be able to come back down to it. So let me show you what this article says because it's very long. All right, this comes from the National Library of Medicine, or PubMed Central. It comes to us from 2011. So this is how long we've had an idea here Okay. So when I say that they've known, look at the dates. All that information is coming out in the 2020s. That's 10 years ago. At least they were talking about these things. This was one of these things. And they want to tell me that they don't know. By the way, the article says it calls for more studies. I got you, studies. Okay, so fatal attraction phenomenon in humans. Cat odor attractiveness increased for toxoplasma infected men, while it decreased for women. Now, this is interesting as fuck. Now, think of Lilith here. Think of Lilith here. It says so it's a lifelong infection. What is it? Latent toxoplasmosis, a lifelong infection with the protozoan Toxoplasma gondii, however you want to say it. I'm calling it gondii. Has an accumulative effect. So it accumulates in you on the behaviors of its hosts, including humans. The most impressive effect is toxoplasmosis is the, quote, fatal attraction phenomenon. The conversation of the innate fear of cat odor into the attraction to cat odor in infected rodents. While most behavioral effects of toxoplasmosis were confirmed also in humans, neither the fatal attraction pheromone nor any toxoplasmosis associated changes in the olfactory functions have been searched for in them. Not yet. This is 2011. Let's go down here to the part I highlighted, because it's going to show you all of how they did the tests and everything. I think I clicked off of it, didn't I? Yes. Okay. So here is the discussion. So I'm just going to read this part of the discussion. Toxoplasma infected men rated the odor of a higher dose cat urine sample as more pleasant than those free of toxoplasma, while toxoplasma infected women rated it as less pleasant than toxoplasma free females. No significant effect on toxoplasmosis on the urine odor pleasantness scores were observed from other animals, namely the horse, tiger, hyena, and dog. So what they were saying is that men, now go back to James's comment here. It said that men who are infected with toxoplasmosis, who have a buildup of infection, an accumulative infection, they find higher concentrations of cat urine pleasant. It takes more of that odor to turn them away from it. Do you see what I'm saying? So for our friend Jason, it's very possible that his cat could smell fragrant, right? Could smell fragrant. That's what I'm thinking. Whereas for women, that wasn't the case. It was less pleasant, which is interesting because now I have to think about litter boxes. If the smell is less pleasant as a female and I have a cat, I'm going to probably change the box more often. And that's going to cycle in a different way the feces as it would in a man, because it's the virus in the cat. T. gondii, the only way that I could find, the only way that this virus can reproduce is in the gut of a cat, a big cat, a house cat, a tiger, a lion, any type of cat, a jaguar, all of them. If it is a feline, it has this toxoplasmosis virus that can only reproduce in itself, or it has to go there to mate, but it gets expelled through its feces. So you touch the feces by cleaning the litter box, or because the cat walks on your face with the paws that it just left the litter box with, or if your house is really gross, like crazy cat hoarder people, and their cat is there, they are going to be digesting a lot more of this virus. They're going to have higher accumulations of this virus in them. Keep that in mind. So this virus not only controls the person or the mouse or the prey, because see, the cat has to eat the mice, right? Or, be near the human, maybe because it can be saliva. Maybe that's why cats like to get in your face and get your breath. Maybe they're drawn to your breath because your breath is expelling the T. Toxoplasma. These are the things that I don't know if I'm right in any of the things I'm saying, but if I was a scientist, these would be the questions that I would be asking. You know what I mean? Okay, yes. I just found that interesting. So thinking of people, there's the sex thing, but it's the accumulation that I think we need to keep in mind. So people that have an overabundance of cats or overrun with cats or even dogs, because now I'm starting to think that it's possible that there's a virus in animals in general, or some type of virus, and maybe it is that one, but the people hoard different types of animals. Maybe that's a mutation in their brain. And instead of cats, they like, something else. That kinds of stuff. But anyway, so let's keep reading because this gets very interesting. The opposite reactions of infected male and female rodents to cat urine odor have not been reported yet. I do not fucking believe that for a second. I don't. You mean to tell me that you've known about this for at least 20 years already, and you've not once thought to see what if I put boy rats and girl rats? Would that be different? Bullshit. That's called hidden knowledge. That's what I'm calling bullshit. If I was a scientist, you are inadequate. You are dumb if you never thought to do that. But it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. It says reported. Come on. The phenomenon of I would want to know the shit out of this virus. Let me just tell you, the fact that we're only now talking about it tells me they've already mastered this virus. Remember, Epstein-Barr was broken and genomed in 1984. I believe this one has been too. I'm not buying it for a fucking second. This goes into mind control type conversations. So let's see. They've been observed in both. However, experiments were conducted exclusively in male rats or female rats, or the results were reported without indicating the sex of experimental animals and humans. Sex-specific opposite behavioral psychological reactions in strength increases suspicion. That's the L factor, and the decreased factor, and the opposite is true for these factors in also toxoplasma infected women. In behavioral tests and observational studies, the infected men expressed less and infected women more self-control. So women had the ability to control themselves more when they were infected with this virus, whereas men less. Isn't that interesting? So men infected with the toxoplasma had less self-control than the women did. Infected male students also scored lower in clothes tidiness. They wore less clean, older, and they wore cheaper clothes. It made them frugal and dirty. We're working on it. This is a very tricky chemical reaction I'm trying to make in the humans to do what I tell them to do. So we're going to have some mistakes, but we got to find the mistakes before we can perfect them. While infected female students scored higher in tidiness in comparison with uninfected female students. So they were cleaner, like a cat would be. Always cleaning themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? The women tend to be taking on the characteristics. The tomcat, the alley cat, and then you have the domesticated cat. The behavioral differences between the sexes were observed during experimental games. The infected male students were less generous and infected women more generous. Voluntary returned money to investors during the trust game. The infected male students had higher, while infected females had lower rates of testosterone. It raises your testosterone. Isn't there a type of surgery or, what is it called? Therapy they have recommended to people who are into, piddling kids, where they want to, castrate them. They have too much testosterone. If we remove their testosterone, they don't age. I find that interesting. So males end up with a higher testosterone. It might indicate that the contrast in humans the infected mice of both sexes had decreased levels of testosterone. So they're working on it. Okay. Here's some more interesting things. They also suggested so-called stress hypothesis is a possible explanation for the opposite effects of latent toxoplasmosis on women and men's personality and behavior. And this hypothesis is based on the assumption that latent toxoplasmosis via deteriorated physical functioning causes long-term subliminal stress. It is known that men and women cope differently with stress. In contrast to men who seem to use more individualistic and antisocial, for example, aggression and hostile forms of coping with stress, women are more likely to seek and support social support, join with others, verbalize towards others or the self. A recent biological evolutionary theory similarly distinguishes between the male fight or flight response and the female tend and befriend reactions to stress following from the strong need of women to protect children and maintain social relationships. For detailed discussion of the theoretical background of stress hypothesis, see this reference. And there it is. Pattern of money allocation and experimental games supports the stress hypothesis of gender differences in toxoplasmic on de-induced behavioral changes from 2010. It can be analogically speculated that infected men and women, in comparison with the toxoplasma-free subjects, could express opposite reactions to danger stimuli. For example, they might not smell the predator. Namely, the men could have increased and women decreased tendency to risk a contact with a predator. So what they're saying there is, in one case, so let's just say we'll use mice here. So we have a male mice and a female mice. So what this theory is hypothesizing is that, is that for the girl mice, she might want to go mother the cat and care for the cat. And I want to say this is an interesting idea because there's an old myth, an old folklore rather, that talks about the mouse and the lion's paw. And the lion has a thorn in its paw. And the mouse goes to the lion to take the thorn out. Does anyone remember that fairy tale? So when I read this, now I must think even if the person that wrote that had no idea that there was a true connection between the concept of the mouse wanting to tend and care for its enemy, the big lion, I must think that subconsciously then in an etherical, conscious, collective mind thinking, developmental meaning of life theory stage, that we were writing these concepts because deep down we actually knew them. And we're only now unlocking the true meaning of these fairy tales and what they mean. Do you know what I mean? Hey, Affluent. That's another one that's funny about the Mars. I'm not sure what you're. I'll leave you guys to that comments there. Gene therapy, and this is all the same. You know what I'm saying, guys? You guys have been following me along for a minute, haven't you? You know what I'm just getting to. Do you know what I'm getting to? Okay, so here's another one I found really interesting. Oh, before I go, another thing I want to say about this theory right here. Now, this is just okay. Now I'm just going to throw something crazy out there, but there might be something to it's not the cats. It's not the cats. It is the virus. It is not the cats. The cats are not trying to kill us. The virus is causing them to be near us. The virus is what they're after. It causes the mouse to be so in that right there, it's saying that a female mouse might go and want to take the thorn out of the paw, where a male mice might want to go and attack the lion. It's not afraid of the lion. Do you see what I mean? It loses its fear of the predator and it thinks it can kick its ass, and so it becomes aggressive. So either way, the mouse is eaten. And now I know that, and I am working on epigenetics. I am working on breaking down how the human genome reacts to its environmental factors. And I've got a virus. I've got a little tiny thing in this area here that nobody even fucking knows they have. 66% of the population, that's maybe even low. I read some that said up to 80%. That's as many as Epstein-Barr. And that means that most of those people have both of these, because the only people that I don't think have Epstein-Barr or have ever been in contact with this Tigandi, I don't own a cat, so I don't have it living inside me currently, because I'm so far removed from any cats that I'm not even near one enough to transmit it back. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's not even that happening. The virus is not, moving through me. But now you imagine all of the people and the accumulation of the virus, the same thing with Epstein-Barr. The more times you fight that, the more it knows you, the more it unlocks for you. So you don't have fibromyalgia one day, the next day you do. You don't have neuropathy. I got fibromyalgia, but I don't have neuropathy. Well, you end up sick with a cold, or you have a car accident, and the next thing you know, neuropathy shows up with about 10 of its friends. And that's how these viruses work. It's an accumulation of them, so that when you're an adult, you are now dealing with so much that your body is just unable, and it starts to take over. And we have all of these things like, autism in babies because of their mother. I don't know. I'm telling you, that's what they're researching right now. I'm not saying that. Science is saying that. So I find this interesting because really, to me, this sounds like, let me put it in different terms. This is a codependent relationship. This here causes a codependent relationship when the species is the same. So if the male is aggressive, but the female is loving, You have a codependent relationship now. He needs her and she needs him. And you know how much narcissism is on the rise. You know, how, if I was to say that there was a beast, I would say it would be these viruses. This is where I think you would find the devil if you were looking for one. This would be my current place to look, because these viruses are doing things to people that cause them to continue to survive. It's causing narcissistic codependent relationships in the world. And we have for now eons had babies from these absolute aggressive people. We're even brainwashed and told throughout our childhood, bad boys are attractive and good boys are not. And you want the rebel and you want the bad, and, think Grease, for crying out loud. So there might be some very subtle things that we haven't even begun to understand, how these viruses can start to react and turn on tiny switchers in and off, on and off in our bodies, minds, that gets passed down to the next, to the next, to the next. Because remember, a mother's born with her eggs. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Neither, because they both came together. Okay. So that is, that's where that comes to. So I started thinking about that codependent relationship and the state of the matter of the world currently in adolescence, with a whole bunch of narcissistic centered beings, which is an expression of teenage adolescent years. So it's still doing a normal developmentally evolutionary stage of, but what if it is just the toxoplasma? What if that virus is running things more than we know? I don't know. And the bad guys, or whoever, science, really wants to find it out. Maybe to help us. I don't know, but that's not what they do with it. They don't tell you, hey, we need to get you all sick with something so we can watch to see, so that 200 years from now, we can save mankind. We would rebel. We'd say, fuck no. So they have to hide it. Anyway. All right. So here is this. Let me find the other one. Yeah. This is interesting. Okay. So we can speculate on the reasons for the absence of any effects of toxoplasmosis on the scores attributed to second feline species, the tiger, in our urine sample set. Both cat and tiger, in contrast with other species in the study, are definitive hosts of toxoplasma. So the tiger and the cat are a definitive host. They absolutely love these guys. Moreover, the toxoplasma bradyzoites had higher probability to enter the stomach of a tiger than that of a domestic cat in the recent evolutionary past. Presently, the urine component responsible for the fatal attraction phenomenon is not known. Based on our results, it can be suggested that feline, and then it gives me a bunch of stuff, might be implicated in the olfactory preference changes in this infected immediate host. So remember, it was saying that, on the men and women, they smelled it differently, much like men and women hear each other differently. We also smell each other differently. And this characteristic vital component of the feline urine is involved in scent marking, and at natural temperature, it slowly releases from its transpondent proteins in urine for more than 30 days. So it's fragrant for 30 days. It's a great perfume. Now, imagine a historical society. So go back in time. Let's time travel. And let's just, what if there is this more attracting, we've all heard of the Kavorka. Could women have been putting, could Cleopatra have covered herself in cat piss because it smelled good to Caesar? I don't know. Just saying. Lasts for 30 days or money back. feline present only in the urine of small cats and not in that of large cats, tigers, lions, etc. It should be noted, however, that the effect of toxoplasmosis on olfactory preferences follows an inverted U function. The effect was not observed when using either high or a very low amount of cat urine in the mice experiments, in contrast to a relatively pleasant odor of low amounts to domestic cat urine. Tiger urine odor was perceived as very unpleasant by most of our raters. So most people said no to the tiger urine. Therefore, we could easily miss the fatal attraction peak for tiger urine because we had to use too small amounts of tiger urine for both the low and high concentration due to the strong ammonia smell. But it goes on to say this. We are aware of some particular limitations of the present study. There is a relatively low number of plasma infected students among the study population. So we're calling for more research. And this number, 15 men and 19 women, were similar. So these are just preliminaries. And this was for the students of the Faculty of Science at Charles University in the last decade. So they've been doing this. Okay. The general aim was to explain the informed consent. No, hang on. Is this the one that talks about? I think you get the idea here. Yeah. Okay. And maybe on another page. Let me keep going. So in some of this research, I came across this. Now it was talking about T. gondii as being in the one of the 5 neglected parasitic infections of people. It's one of the 5. There's 5 parasitic infections, and these 5 are completely neglected. It says, we don't even bother to look, says the CDC. We purposefully neglect them. We don't talk about them. We don't research them. We don't know. We are, what? We've never even thought of that before. Right? Bull fucking shit. Look at these things. These are the things that cause brain tumors. And you're going to tell me it's one of the most neglected? Get the fuck out of here. They're lying. That is a lie, a lie, a lie, a lie, a lie. Centers of Disease Control tells me. Neglected parasitic infections. Get out of here. Neglected parasitic infections and poverty. Is it the year of the cat? Anyway. The wise men. Oh, that's an interesting, Jerry. Just now saw your comment there. Am I? Woo woo. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. No relationship will last if it depends on cat's urine. That's an interesting idea there, though, the frankincense and myrrh, right? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They give women medication with Marzura when finding it hard to become pregnant. Off topic, but just talking about all the piss talk brought it into mind. Am I infected? I don't know. Cherry. Okay. So you really see now. Let me ask you. Now I asked the crowd. I ask my peers. Do you believe this is 2014? Do you believe that they really have neglected these 5 parasitic infections that have the ability to control a person's mind? Do you honestly believe that these have been neglected? They control a person's mind. They've been theorized and hypothesized that they can cause people to have psychotic episodes, brain tumors. You really mean to tell me that you have ignored them? I doubt it. So let me show you my next set of tabs. So an idea for all of you Illuminati lovers. Are there lizard people in the Vatican and underground in LA? Are they lizards? Or are they cats? Huh? Look at this one. Do you see what I mean? Is it a reptilian eye or a cat's eye? Which is it? Well, cats eat lizards. From my understanding, they'll go after them. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention about the slit eye. Right? Lizard cats. They're lizard cats. Fuck. Effluent. Okay. So let's talk about the slit lamp. What is this? What is the slit lamp? Do you see that there? The slit lamp is a biomicroscope, and the slit lamp form a two-part instrument that your eye doctor uses during a comprehensive eye exam to view both of the anterior and front portion of the eye and your eyelids at high magnification. The slit lamp uses a high-intensity light source to illuminate the front of your eye or lids. The width of the beam is adjusted from a full beam to a thin slit of light, enabling the doctor to better evaluate the health of your eyes. Your doctors can focus on the back of your eye as well. They might also do some other things. Why? Because I had to ask this. Can Toxoplasma gondii detect in the eye? Scleritis regarding ocular tissues, T. gondii is typically detected in the retina. However, in parasites that have been rarely found in the I can't say that word, but I have a thing that's your color of your eye. I have a thing where I have a blue ring around my iris. It's in the white. Boo has it too. You can see it in the sun. It's a genetic marker. Of HIV individuals with intensive retina inflammation. Look at that. He was asking about people who were gay earlier. Looky there. So clinical features of the eyes. You can see this is well known. There it is. You can see it. You can see the disease in the eye. It's the window to the soul. Okay. So now I go to my next tab. That yes. Checkmark lizard on the optometrist form. It's brilliant. All right. In live science, looky there. They have an article. We all know who they are. What's their little RS? What the heck is that? Anyway, human behavior, math and science, or math and physics, archaeology, planet Earth, animals, health, space. Oh my God. Mind control. This came out this year, just this year. You're going to see this everywhere now. Because I just feel like I'm about 6 months to 1 year ahead of everyone else. I think, though, that there's others. I say that because I was calling this shit out a year before anyone put long COVID together. I'd already been saying that. That I have proof of. And I knew it because I was watching those people in China and what their symptoms were. And before it even hit here, and I said, I know what's happening to them. And I went on a little hunt And I found some stuff because I've experienced it with my own self. And when people were passing out after the Lucy Juicies, and there was, all of the assumptions about what was happening there, all the amount of people passing out on television, fainting. These are all things that are along with these comorbidities that happen after infections like mononucleosis, which is what I've had. So that's how come I knew these things. So this is interesting the crap out of me. I think we'll see a lot more of this. I only know but they're catching up to me. I'd say by the first of the year, this will leave live science and it will show up in your Facebook tabs. Okay, so mind control parasite hides from the immune system with what? 2 key genes, but we haven't been looking at it. But we've neglected it. We've completely neglected it. We don't know anything about it. But here it's got 2 key genes. Get the fuck out of here. All right, so it says that a single cell parasite relies on 2 genes that boost each other's activity to switch into, quote, defense mode when attacked by the immune system. The parasite Toxoplasma gondii hides in up to half of humans, although it rarely causes symptoms. Does it? But when it affects mice, the single-cell organism can exert a kind of, quote, mind control to change the rodent's behavior and help itself spread. Now, researchers report being one step closer to curing but it doesn't have any symptoms. But yet they're finding to cure the infections in humans that can be lifelong due to parasites' ability to morph into a dormant defensive state, just like Epstein-Barr, just like COVID is. That's why long COVID is a reactivations. We're having reactivations of viruses we've already been exposed to. 2 transcription factors, proteins that switch genes on and off. That is ridiculous. It lies at this metamorphosis, and the discovery opens avenues to block the process. And release the bats, because now I have an entire control group. And I'm also going to start testing them all for this when they come to the doctor, because this is now on everyone's list. Plus, we've had a whole lot of people adopting cats and having more cats and their side effects, and it's going to be on your doctor form. Do you own a cat? Why? They want to test your T. gondii cell infections. They want to see if you're neuropositive, or what is it called? Seropositive. And that shows that you have a buildup of these parasites inside you, and they may, in conjunction, be turning an on and off in a metamorphosis, and the discovery opens. Often dubbed the mind control parasite, it takes over the minds of infected mice and steers them towards cats to become their next meal. This enables the parasite to jump into our feline friends, the only known hosts in which they can reproduce sexually. See? It's the only known host, the cat is, that they can reproduce sexually. So the truth is we have to kill all the cats. That is pretty. Look at the little sea glass birds. That's cute. Okay. Scientists remain unsure whether the parasite can similarly remain unsure. I don't think so, you lying little shits. Because I would say that this came out in 2023 and they're still unsure and they've neglected it. Stop. Then they're incompetent and should all be fired. I want every one of these fuckers fired. They're good for nothing. I could have already had control of the world. This is the devil talking. But these idiots can't even think, well, I wonder if that works in humans. Let's neglect it. Let's not even look there. But it could be mind control. It can control the whole world this way. You don't understand. I learned about luminescence from, chopping up jellyfish and bugs and things. Illumina. I got to learn about this virus. You don't understand. I can manipulate that. I could alter it. I could change it with, I don't know, some type of mRNA vaccine. Steve, Bill's been working on that for years with Fauci. Okay, I could do that. Can I not do that? Oh, man. So it goes on to say that most people carrying this don't develop any symptoms, but more rarely the infection can trigger mild flu-like symptoms and even a severe illness. Developing fetuses, newborns, and people with weak immune systems are the most vulnerable to this severe toxoplasmosis, which can cause damage to the eyes and brain and sometimes be fatal. So can CMV, cytomegalovirus, the leading cause of child disabilities, and yet no one's heard of it. Not even your doctor's heard of it. So anyway, it does say that it proliferates rapidly in its form, but under stressful conditions like an immune attack, so you get sick, T. gondii burrows into the brain and the muscle tissue and morphs into a bradyzoid. So it goes from a trachezoid to a bradyzoid. This encloses itself inside a cyst and waits to be revert into its active state. Immune cells and current treatments can clear away these trachezoids, but the cysts protect the bradyzoid from attack. What? Parasitologists and have previously discovered a protein that switches on genes essential for turning trachezoids into bradyzoids. Okay, let me just tell you what they figured out. They figured out that when there's an immune attack, this virus changes its form and kind of becomes like a pearl. Okay, so it becomes like a little pearl protected, a little piece of sand protected by a pearl coating, a candy coating. And it just lays there waiting to be turned back on. Okay. And they found the switch in the virus that causes it to turn into a bradyzoid. So they found the switch. Now they're telling me that because they're saying that they're going to make sure that it's turned off so it never forms a bradyzoid. I found the one that turns it on. Good. So let's not activate that one. Let's remove it through the genome and do it again. And then that won't happen. And you won't have that bradyzoid brain tumor malformation, funkin', cyst in the brain. Okay. No. But I can also turn it on. If they can turn it on, they're also turning it on. All right. But the regulation remains poorly understood. So we need patience. I need bigger sample sizes. A new study published in April, they discovered another transcription factor that regulates it, and they named it BFD2. So BFD1, BFD2. The study mechanicalistically added a lot to the initial story, said Mohammed, a parasitologist from the Alps University in France, who was not involved with the work. So he just read it. When the researchers deleted that gene that codes for the BFD2, they found that the trachezoids could not switch into bradyzoids and form a cyst. The scientists injected 100 copies of the parasite without the gene into the mice and didn't detect cysts in brain autopsies performed 45 days later. This couldn't be explained by the immune system successfully clearing away the parasite because low levels were still detected of the trachezoids, but we had no bradyzoids. Next, the team determined that the BDF1 and BDF2 regulate each other. So stress boosted both in mice, but deleting the BFD1 coding gene also silenced the BFD2 gene. The researchers determined that BFD1 binds to the BFD coding gene and switches it on. That is scary as fuck. that they know how to just turn things on and off like a switch. And they even use that terms. Okay, so it goes on to some more scientific stuff. It says that the team determined that the T. gondii cells maintain a supply of this mRNA, but they can only make the BFD1 protein when the BFD2 binds to the mRNA and thus triggers the protein synthesis. This is working on a vaccine that will keep you from getting this. This is what this will end up. This is what I would think if I was a pharmaceutical company. This binding only happens, and this is what's so crazy when it says stuff like this. This binding only happens when the cell is under stress. So only when it's under stress and it has to go into hiding. So if I have people infected with this, I can cause them stress, 9/11, pandemic. I can cause them stress. This virus then retreats back inside of the body, hangs out there, and can or cannot form a cyst, either will or won't. But by perpetuating each other's activity, two transcription factors can commit tachyzoites to morphing into bradyzoites by, quote, locking the cell into the developmental trajectory. The factors switch on this self-perpetuating loop, she added, enabling bradyzoites to revert to tachyzoites when stressful conditions elapse. We still don't know what the signal that control differentiation are. Which signals it is. Not yet. Unraveling those signals may be the key to halting this. Current therapies against toxoplasma cannot cure the infection because the chronic stages are resistant. He added that inhibiting differentiation could render the parasite susceptible to existing drugs, which could cure the infection. He argued that scientists are a long way from developing such drugs, though. It's very hard to target transcription factors. And aside from select drugs used in cancer treatment, very few drugs do, he said. He agreed that he was optimistic that understanding the circuit and regulation thereof could reveal ways to block the parasite from entering its protective dormant state. Interesting, isn't it? What did I miss? Your mom was a cat lady. And their owners, yes. They are. They are. You're not wrong there. They unlock the tail team. It's not your fault. Cats rule. We all know cat videos are ruled interweb. It is interesting that we're attracted to cats and we protect cats. And by protecting cats, we allow cats to safely exist and this virus to continue. This battle is over, Joni. Cats are laughing at us. Ha! Cat scratch fever. Yeah, that's it. We are suckers. In the methane. I don't know. Can we? That's a good idea. Right? We got to. That's really funny, though, that you say that, Jerry, because the world is concerned about methane of cows, but not a virus in cats that causes people to go loony. I'm going to share a few more things and I'll open up the panel if anyone wants to come and chat. Okay. All right. So this one says, this is from Frontiers in Psychology from 2018. It says mind control, how parasites manipulate cognitive functions in their insect hosts. This is talking about in insects. I would also be studying the loving fucking shit out of this stuff if I was the devil. Parasitology is an emerging branch of science that deals with parasites that can control the nervous system of the host. It offers the possibility of discovering how one species, the parasite, modifies a particular neural network. I wonder why they want to study this, and thus particular behaviors of another species or the host. Such parasite host interactions, developed over millions of years of evolution, provide unique tools by which one can determine how neuromodulation up or down regulates specific behaviors. In some of the most fascinating manipulations, the parasite traps into the host's brain neural circuitries to manipulate host cognitive functions. To name just a few examples, some worms induce crickets and other terrestrial insects to commit suicide in water, enabling the exit of the parasite into the aquatic environment favorable to its reproduction. In another example of behavioral manipulation, ants that consumed the secretions of a caterpillar containing dopamine were less likely to move away from the caterpillar and more likely to be aggressive. This benefits the caterpillar, for without its ant bodyguards, it's more likely to be predated upon or attacked by parasitic insects that would lay eggs inside its body. Another example is the parasitic wasp, which induces a guarding behavior in its ladybug host in collaboration with viral mutualist. To exert long-term behavioral manipulation on the host, a parasite must secrete compounds that act through secondary messengers or directly on genes, often modifying gene expression to produce long-lasting effects. Now, if they know this about a parasite, I'm going to say that if I go and did research on modifying gene expression, I bet there's a lot of information about parasites and what they learned from them in the process of doing such a thing. So I'm not buying that it is, what was that again? One of the 5 neglected parasites. It says here, let's see. Yeah. Okay. So I'll try to just kind of highlight through. However, some parasites manipulate their hosts, fascinating with its evocation of gruesome zombie movies involving body snatchers. It's rather the understanding that these processes provide fundamental insights into neurobiology of behavior. Although our understanding of neural mechanisms and parasitic manipulation is still lacking so far. There has been some major advances in the past few years, since most animals are insects, and not surprising that many case studies of animals are manipulated by parasites are insects. The diversity of parasites can be manipulated insect behavior ranges from worms and other parasites. So we're going to focus on parasite insect associations. We're focusing on mind control and the manipulation of cognitive functions. We'll consider the cognition here in a broad sense as the ability of insects to behave, not just like reflex machines or automations, but that insects are capable of informed choice making and goal-directed behavior in a dynamic environment. That is mind control. And if you look at TIs and these type of ideas, Men in Black, if you're into any of that kind of stuff, well, here it is. That's the expression there. Recent accumulating evidence demonstrates that insects are more than just automations and capable of expressing these created patterns of spontaneous behavior. Okay, so there is studies you're just gonna have to take my word for it because they don't have it pulled up. I can't share anything, but if people come up in chat, I'll try to go and find it and share it. But there is brain scans that they show that before you make a choice, your brain registers your choice. Okay. So you might think I'm thirsty, but before you ever even had the thought of I'm thirsty, before you recognized the thought of I'm thirsty, your brain registers that on a scan and it says I'm thirsty. And then you go, I'm thirsty. So you actually have the expression before you even think it. So it's a thought that you don't even realize you think, right? You don't even have it. And this goes into the autonomic response system, right? You don't know why you said that. You don't know why you ran that way. You don't know why you reacted that way. You don't know why you punched him. You don't know why you did this. You don't know why you did what you did in your fight, flight, or freeze, but you just did it. And because we have this system that runs in the background of our own minds that's making these choices, and then we think of them and then we act on them, right? So so this goes into the theoretical, do we have free will? So, and that's the question you're asking there. Do you have free will if you're already drove to that behavior before you had ever even recognized that it was a behavior in the first place? What really is running in the background? So your consciousness does not have free will. It's something running behind you. Does that make sense? And that is what this is saying, that these types of viruses, people go about their daily business. They don't even know that they're drawn to the cat. They don't even recognize that they're drawn. They have no clue. They're still choosing to go see the mouse. The mouse is still choosing, oh, thank you, to go see the cat. It doesn't realize that that's a stupid choice. It doesn't have that ability. The body is acting on the pre-thought mind. Okay. So, let's see. Let me go down here. This suggests that non-random endogenous process of behavioral choice, which might imply a precursor motif of spontaneous behavior as opposed to reflexive behavior. We'll first address, so here's some of the things. We'll first address manipulations to affect host. For the sake of clarity, we have put these in 3 different categories. 1, those that affect the compass or navigation of the host that leads to suicidal behavior. 2, those that induce so-called bodyguard behavior, right? So males were more aggressive, men were more aggressive, therefore they had more of a suicidal behavior, whereas women were more kind and caring, therefore they have a bodyguarding type of behavior. Those that affect the host motivation to move, and then with some insect species being social and living in colony, we will address the manipulations that affect the individual in a social context. Regarding the latter, we will highlight examples of manipulation where the individual, when infected, shows antisocial behavior. So depression, pulling yourself in. Why do we have uptick in suicides? Because these viruses all act like this. It's not just T. gondii. Epstein-Barr does the exact same thing. They have these controls on the function of our bodies. So we have a suicidal behavior. Obviously, I think everybody understands what that means. They just go running in, or, they're, and then they'll take care of another. Ducks even do this, offspring care. They even play this magic trick in a different way where they lay their each other's eggs in each other's nest, and 1, maybe 2, mother will lay on the ducks or on the eggs, with them maybe taking turns. If you have a sister, I've had that before, and then I've had them also be doing it alone. But you have that manipulation of carrying somebody else's skin. That makes sure the whole group, the ducks, don't mind. They don't even care. They'll even lay on the goose egg. The goose will lay on the duck eggs. they don't care. They're, you know, it's a way of manipulating that and having your, see, you know, your baby, you know, be raised by someone else. That's also a thing that we have. So there's lots of that goes on in nature. Let me go down a little bit. It makes the sociability, you get all of this. You see what it does. So the conclusion is, they reported that these mice infected with a wild type or a mutant strain showed both changes in exploration and risk behaviors. One of the other things that I read is that people that have these viruses they have a higher chance of going into business or, you know, something like that. These career choices, they're more, you know what I mean? It's so interesting to think about it as far as, you know, behavioral modification and mind control and these types of ideas. So that was it. That's all the tabs I have for the Tigandi. I'll put the link up if anyone wants to come and talk about the cats and you know, air your grievances to the felines of the world who I think are controlled. Remember, the felines are controlled too. That virus needs them to make babies, to procreate. So I'm going to assume that there's something along the lines of some control in the cats. And it could be that the cats are as attracted to the humans as the humans are the cats. And that's where that domestication came from. I remember learning a while back that, and I've shared this before, that there's some theories out there that it wasn't man that domesticated dog, but dog that domesticated man. And what they're saying is that dogs came up to the men first. First, men were afraid of the dogs, not the other way around. You know, and so I thought that makes a lot of sense. And so I kind of wonder now, is there any viruses attached to dogs and things like that? So I'm sure there might be. Of course, there would be something. Nothing is not going to nature's going to use every freaking avenue. It's not just going to say, well, a couple of wasps and some mice. No, it's going to have forms. You know, even everything unlocks things in your DNA. Very interesting to think about. Risk blindness. And deer, it's crazy. Is this a parasite? I've heard of this. I didn't do research in it and I don't know much about it, but I have heard of this. Is this, I bet it would be, is this also a virus? Is this something that causes, like, yeah, the deer just are kind of like Walking Dead or something, aren't they? Anything mange? Mange is a type, and you know, these are all weird, peculiar parasites. These are parasites, viruses that are on, you know, out in the world. What if that is the devil? That's an interesting thing to think of, you know. It's got the little corona. It's got the little, you know. Very interesting. What do you guys think? I've got him tied up in my basement, James. Where do you think he is? I believe it is a parasite. Looking at fainting goats. That's genetic. Oh, yes, that is. And now if I start to learn everyone's genetics, you're next, James. You better stay over there. If I start looking into people's genetics and I recognize that I can turn things on and off in these mRNA, you know what I mean? Hey, Yvonne, how are you? It's good to see you. It's been a minute. I could really do some damage. Or at least run a bunch of experiments. And so I'm going to say again, I do believe we are guinea pigs. We are being experimented on. Not, they're going to sell you something. That's a good reason to do it. But ultimately, as the businessman says, a true businessman, a real guy, a CEO, Gates, these guys, money is a means to an end. They do not give a fuck about money. They don't even like money, but money gets them the means to their end. And they want to save the world. They want to make a difference, good or bad. They want to be a part of history. They want to have recognition and be remembered long after they're gone. And depending on what your title is, determines how long you're remembered. Isis, Cleopatra, right? Jesus. You get immortalized. And that's what they're looking for. It's very clear to me that's what we're dealing with. Well, is there anyone else alive that is worth, going and hanging out in? Do we have anyone? I don't see anyone. Well, not that I'm subscribed to anyway. So I know in a little while at 8:00, Sensium is live. And it looks like, yeah, tonight at 8. Bloomberg's live, so you can always go over and check that out. So, okay. Do you want me to do this? I can close this one and start another stream where people could just come and bullshit or, talk. Would that be? Or do you guys just want to go on your way? It just seems like everyone, where could we go? What could we do? I wouldn't mind some, hanging out. Suzanne, you want to put, I don't care who does it. Whose house? I'm leaving it to you. Oh, you got a cold. I hope it's not, what we're thinking as colds, I'm starting to learn are what others would call a flare-up or a trigger or a repeat offender. Or what's the word I'm looking for? Shoot. I'm not sure. Yes. I tell you what, why would you come? Well, would you come back if I close this one and started another one? That way we could just leave the cat stuff up. And I'll stop this one and I'll just start another panel. In fact, don't go anywhere. I'll do it now while you're here so that I can give you the link. How's that? Do it. Peer pressure. Because yes. What are we going to call this? The after cat party. No, the after party. I'm going to call it Catapalooza. Ah. Okay. Okay. You should go now and get it. I'll get it. Oh, hang on. I gotta get. I'm such a moron. Okay. Okay, now let me see. Find your inner cat. That's a good one. Okay, here it is. Oh, wait. Okay, we can head over here now. It's called Pussy Palooza. That's what I went with. There you go. That's for the YouTube stream. And I'm going to grab the StreamYard link, and then you can join me on the panel and we'll talk about some. You have to get, we're just chilling. Exactly. There, that's enough pussy talk. Okay, fair. All right, I'm ending this when I'm going over there. I'll see you. Thanks everybody for coming if you don't join me there. And I do hope that you learned some interesting things. I think it's important that we kind of, you know, it's fun to goof around and have a good time and be silly and stuff, but at the same time, you know, we're learning things too. So I don't know. Everybody's nuts. All right, I'll see you at the other place.